So guys, in this video I'll be showcasing my new 15.4 Autosearch fleet with only carriers. As usual with my 15.4 showcases, I will not be putting the fleet on Autosearch, but rather handpicking what are usually the most difficult battles you would run into if you are unlucky. Now, just a quick disclaimer, these fleets are neither accessible nor better than fleets with one battleship, but just an alternate way to fleet build, and you can save yourself some time by not having to use battleships. The fleets are not optimized, but I did want to showcase a few of the newer ships that we got. I've got all my fleet tech turned on and I'm using carrier-focused cats as well. There is one big reason to bring at least one battleship, and that is suicide ship interception. However, if you can get over the PTSD of having your backline rammed to death in Chapter 14, you may realize that Chapter 15 is a lot more lax on that front. By dropping the battleship for a third carrier, you gain much more anti-air and AoE damage from wyverns. While there is no way to avoid suicide ships in this case, Zuiho and Kazagumo's main fleet healing are enough to mitigate their damage. What you need to realize is that anti-air is extremely snowbally. If you don't have enough, your carriers will be slowly revealed, and then their fighter anti-air damage will significantly decrease, leading to even more leakage. Conversely, if you have enough anti-air to keep your carriers concealed for the most part, they will continue to mow down incoming planes with no issue. If your carriers stay concealed, they will not get instantly blown away by enemy shelling. Carrier and escort nodes are obviously not an issue. Since the theme is carriers, I'll start off by explaining my carrier choices and their equipment. First up is Shinano because I wanted to go with an IGN theme. She is the best choice due to her massive buffs to not only carriers but destroyers as well, which is 5 ships out of the 6 in the fleet. Her equipment is as standard as it gets. If you want to learn why, you should watch my in-depth equipment guides on planes, which will be linked in the description. I won't rehash it here. Next up is Amagi. We know that she's the best against heavy armor bosses, but is she also good in campaign? The answer is a resounding yes. Damage aside, I highly prefer torpedo bombers to dive bombers in campaign mobbing because torpedo bombers linger on the field and can hit multiple waves of enemies. Not to mention the extra anti-air that wyverns provide. I don't mind dive bombers in the boss fleet, especially in this stage, because there are up to 3 enemies in the boss fights. But if possible, I would choose ships that focus on fighters, which contribute a lot more to anti-air, or torpedo bombers, resulting in more efficient clearing. I'm using the spearfish on Amagi, which I would not consider conventional. I want her airstrike to be desynced from Shinano though, which is why I chose to replace one wyvern with a faster plane, and also give her the aviation beacon. In hindsight, I think I should have went with double wyvern and then give Shinano the auxiliary that slows her airstrike down by 6%, because in the out of ammo fight, the anti-air was just a bit short of being able to keep the carriers concealed throughout. Next up is Zuiho. She's not better than Unicorn, but her healing is enough for this fleet, and since she's being buffed by both Shinano and Amagi, her damage contribution in this specific fleet is much higher than Unicorn could ever hope to have. Once again, she's just using standard equipment. The reason why she's in the flagship position instead of either of the much tankier URs is because sometimes you cannot instantly remove the battleship adds that spawn at the top and bottom of the field in battleship nodes. If your carriers are concealed, which they should be, they will just fire directly forward at the top and bottom ships of the main fleet. The damage they do up front is not the concern, but the burn can quickly rack up. Shinano and Amagi are much better at withstanding that burn damage thanks to their larger HP pool compared to Zuiho, and you will see that Zuiho remains pretty much untouched during the entire run as the flagship. Next up is the Vanguard. First, I wanted to showcase Eldritch Retrofit, and the best way to do so is to use a healer that is weaker than Unicorn, and then a generally pretty squishy Vanguard. But as you can see, they had no trouble surviving at all. Her equipment is also pretty standard for a Chapter 15 destroyer. In the tank position, I'm using Shimanto, who usually isn't reliable enough to main tank Chapter 15, but with the help of Eldritch, she is. She's my pick for anti-air, sticking with the IJN theme, but you can replace her with many other anti-air carries like San Diego, Laffy, Guam, Cheshire, and so on. It doesn't really matter which of those you use because Eldritch will make sure they live anyway. Other than her torpedoes, her equipment is pretty standard. I like using these torpedoes in my regular Musashi Unicorn Aquila fleets because they're desynced from the main fleet and completely wreck the enemies when used on Unzen, but the timing is not that great with the airstrikes, so using the regular quad mags would have most likely been better. As I've stated, the fleet is not optimized yet, so there are places you can improve on. The final ship is Kazagumo. She massively increases the damage of the entire main fleet, and also has some extra healing for them as well. Her squishiness can be a problem at times, but it's mitigated by Eldritch as well as Zuiho's focused healing. I forgot, but you could definitely replace Kazagumo with Golden Hind for an easier time, as the fleet takes no damage until it runs out of ammo, and Golden Hind removes the need to do an out of ammo fight. The boss fleet is quite simple. The only requirement is that you want to time your airstrikes around the smoke screens that come up, and also have a decent amount of damage in the Vanguard to reach the boss in a timely manner. The spawns before the boss in this chapter are not as difficult as the one in chapter 14. I don't think I even had the best timing on the airstrikes for the smoke screens, but it was good enough to clear without much issue. This is far from the only comp that works, by the way. You could replace Shinano and Amagi with Yorktown 2 and Shangri-La, or Saratoga for example, then Zuiho with Unicorn. That fleet would have less damage but more anti-air, so you could bring less anti-air but more damage in the Vanguard to compensate. As for the boss fleet, it's still ideal to bring Bismarck's Way for her black hole since there are 3 enemies, but 3 carriers do work. Once again, if you're just doing chapter 15 for the first time, do not attempt this. It will fall apart immediately when you can't clear the planes coming from the special carrier nodes. Anyway, that's pretty much everything I want to say. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.
竜が我が敵を下す定めはねえライトンがではかけるとしましょう月並み水流力を次元数定めは月並み水流力を次元数定めはでは式並み水かけるとしましょう力を次元数定めは見えるライトンではかけるとしましょうライトンではかけるとしましょう楽しみのあるところ早く終わってかけるとしましょう定めは見えるこの勝利は次の勝利の始まりバトルスタート自由のために自由のために狙い定めた状態良好自由のために挨拶はもう終わりましたよ状態良好自由のために状態良好行こう狙い定めた挨拶はもう自由のために自由のために行こう状態良好挨拶はもう終わりました自由のために自由のために軽空母の力を侮るな大事なのは運だけでなく努力も見えるではかけるとしましょう式並み水流力を次元数定めは見えるではかけるとしましょう定めは見えるでは式並み水流かけるとしましょう力を次元数定めは見えるではかけるとしましょう楽しみのあるところへではかけるとしましょう楽しみのあるところへでは早く終わってかけるとしましょう定めは見える式並み水流かけるとしましょう次元数ライトンが式並み水流かけるとしましょう この勝利は次の勝利の始まりへとつながバトルスタート。自由のために。自由のために。狙い定めた。状態良好。自由のために。状態良好。自由のために。状態。自由のために。自由のために。狙い定めた。状態良好。挨拶はもう終わりましたよ。状態良好のために行こう。状態良好。挨拶はもう終わりましたよ。自由のために。自由のために。狙い定めた。行こう。自由のために。この程度。あの時と比べて自由のために。よくわかんないけどやっちゃえ。自由のために。よくわかんないけどやっちゃえ。自由のために。状態良好。行こう。ロイヤルフラッシュ。自由のために。よくわかんないけどやっちゃえ。軽空母の力を侮るな。